Untamed is going to be untamed. It's going to be a little crazy. I want to talk to my people. I want to talk to my brothers and sisters. We can have grace and humility in how we interact with other people.
Oh, hot dog, look at you.
And nobody talked about what's really happening. And let's have conversations about what truth is. Good for America, good for the American people, good for Israel. Do you believe that? You know, we sit as Americans and we sell ourselves out. Yeah, I mean, we've basically made the American people the bitches of low IQ, single digit IQ Somalis. I mean, let's be honest. They get free healthcare, free education, leering centers all over the place. We have what happened in California, people that are literally running for the hills, running companies are leaving states. 25% of the biggest companies in Colorado set to leave. California already seen a max exodus. Nobody wants to talk about the reality of the stolen elections that are being held hostage by large individuals around the world. They had a plan. They talk about it at the World Economic Forum. They get people on board, weak people that end up in positions of power and authority. The American people get the short end of the stick every time you turn around. There's literally no reprieve in sight. 56 cents on every dollar goes to the government. You don't own your house. You have to rent it from the government. If you don't pay it, then that property tax is going to come take your property from you. The liars that continue to lie, and they lie with such convincing, fortitude. They feel good about what they've done. This Section 219, it gives Israel access to U.S. military and intelligence systems, technology, supply chains, you name it, they get access to it. And it's a win, though, right? It's a win because U.S. troops aren't on the ground, but actually the U.S. troops are controlled by a small country in the middle of the Middle East that hasn't gotten along with anybody in nearly 100 years. But they say it's biblical. They say that it's in the Bible that we have to give up our own sovereignty because that's the right thing to do. There's one thing that maybe the left gets right, and that is that we should stand in solidarity with the American people, and that we shouldn't be over there trying to bomb different countries. Today was kind of an eye-opening experience where I watch on the internet as people are literally walking past themselves saying, "Oh, we didn't need the left to finish the job; we finished it ourselves." And then you have Mike Johnson lying about saying that the SAVE Act was actually put through the House as a part of this bill. That's not true either. It's voter ID. It's a watered down, keep everything the same, keep machines in place, mail-in ballots. President Trump says, we get a part of free and fair elections. We get IDs. Oh, yay. don't have voter rolls. You don't have to adhere to HAVA. You have machines and mail-in ballots that create a lack of transparency that's so large, it's hard to ignore. And then here's Mike Johnson, betrayer Johnson. who needs to have an enemy like the left when the people in our own camp are slitting the Americans' throats one by one, little by little, taking from them what was never theirs to take, treating us like institutional slaves as if we're just, it's the craziest thing ever. But he wanted to celebrate this win for AIPAC. Couldn't play it.
And the budget resolution that unlocks our third reconciliation bill, which of course is Republicans' best shot to get as much of the Save America Act into law as possible, in addition to funding our national defense and our farmers. Republicans support our troops, our farmers, and election security. We're the only team in Washington that does. Many of you doubted our success. Many of you standing around me in the Skaggle right now said, let me read you a sample of the headlines. Quote, House Republicans face final week gauntlet. Another said, Johnson's rocky sprint to recess. Another said it was Johnson's make or break week. Despite nearly every Democrat voting against everything I just read you, House Republicans delivered. Now, many of you like to say that major legislating can't happen in an election year. We just proved you wrong. This week, we continue to deliver for the people, and we're going to continue that streak all the way through the end of this year and into the next Congress. We're increasingly confident that we will hold and grow this majority in the House. We must, because you're seeing a demonstration of the two sides, the divergent views for America.
I sit here and say that he can deliver. So let's break down what we delivered. Here's the benefit: focus funding for the end of. By the way, we got nothing. We didn't get major provisions of the SAVE Act. He's a fucking liar. But that's what they do, right? That's what the Republicans do. I mean, in every way, shape, and form, they betray the American people, or maybe like Victor Marx, they just go out and talk about killing people and saving women and children. It reminds me of the story of this. Madeline, what was her name? I'll find it. Porn star turned, going out there to save the children. Talks about how she had all these military tribunals, and she had people that actually followed her. Hundreds of thousands of dollars that she raised for herself. She just got sentenced to 10 years in prison while trying to get a convicted pedophile, a serial rapist of a 13-year-old girl out of prison. That's the person that is trying to stop sexual assault and trafficking of children. It's typically the ones that scream the loudest that are the ones that are causing all of the pain on people in our own community. But let's talk about how we integrated and what we did for the American people. The featured focus funding so that Israel receives authorizations, $500 million to $750 million annually, for joint missile defense and specialized defense, R&D. So in other words, they get to make billionaires and 100 millionaires out of people over in Israel from the American people. So you get to go to work and work really hard, and you get to hand that hard-earned money over to a foreign country so that it can turn that country into a technology superpower, especially when it comes to foreign defense or domestic defense. We'll buy all that back. We paid for it, gave people the opportunity to run. I mean, heck, Pornhub was created out of Israel. All the major porn sites out of Israel. And if you think it's just that the Israeli people, no, they pick winners and losers there too. Most of the people of Israel is required to just, go and do a job. The amount of distrust that they have for their own government far exceeds that of what we have in the United States. But the benefits to America is it authorizes total national defense funding, $800 billion to $1 trillion, including pay raises, equipment, and readiness. So the American people get something, or we're already at $39 trillion in debt. We're nearly insolvent. I'm not sure really what that looks like. I mean, interest rates are through the roof. American people can barely pay their bills at every level. Their retirements are nearly non-existent, and they're headed towards a pathway where the American people have finally figured out that it doesn't matter what side you are, R, D, independent, whatever party you think you're a part of that is doing good. None of the parties are doing good because none of the people are ever elected. They're selected to be in the position they're in. But here's what's good for Israel in this whole bill. It expands market access for Israeli technology firms and integrates them into U.S. military procurement pipelines. So we're just the same. And benefit to America, it boosts domestic defense manufacturing jobs. So more bombs so we can kill people, because who cares about the sovereignty of other nations or even having humanity? It's selective humanity. I like to call it the idea that we pick winners and losers, and we can say who the bad guys are, but we're never the bad guys. It's never one of two countries. I'm almost embarrassed by what just passed. Military capabilities enhances multi-tier air defense coverage, Iron Dome, the Arrow, David Sling. That's for Israel. And then provides American forces with rapid access to battle-tested counter-drone, anti-tunnel, and air defense technologies that we paid for. So we send them money, they develop it, and then we get access to it. We get to buy it back, build back better. And then, this will allow Israel to maintain a military edge and strength in the Middle East, kind of like having their own little base. And for us, it gives us the ability to have our finger in the middle of the pot of the Middle East. Never before have I agreed with more than what you're about to hear. This is retired Army Colonel Larry Wilkerson saying that this passage of Section 219 inside the NDAA could start a civil war. Play it.
I think 60 to 70% of America now that is under 50 years old that thinks this relationship with Israel is poisonous, which is the pure truth, and wants to do something about it. So it'll take time, and I'm afraid that in that time, a lot of bad things are going to happen. And Mike Johnson and Mitch McConnell and John Thune and others like them are going to have to bear the burden of history in terms of what they've done. They are, in effect, traitors. They are, in effect, traitors. Let me emphasize that word, traitors, because they have betrayed the United States. And Section 224 goes even deeper into it. And I'm quite sure that one's going to make it through, too. So we're looking at a Congress that is betraying the United States of America in a significant way with regard to national security, and I think with regard to domestic tranquility, because we're going to have at least close to, if not an actual civil war over this, if we don't do something about it.
We are one step closer to a civil war. I was able to review some documents today of a guy that can't stop lying. And it's not Eric Coomer this time, by the way. But I'm starting to figure out that as I started reading some of these documents, just how evil and pervasive evil is. And it decides what side of the football field it's on. Democrats on one side, Republicans on the other. It just picks a side. The team evil is so pervasive in both parties that it's hardly recognizable. The people end up becoming the ones that pay the price. And we have to embrace the new suck. Every day it's embrace the new suck, embrace the new suck. It's pretty catastrophic right now. And that's not me being black-pilled, although I get closer and closer today. Today's one of those days where I might need a couch and you might charge me by the hour or send me a bill. Or just the simple fact that we are in such a place of massive betrayal. And he's right. These are traitors. John Thune is a traitor. Mitch McConnell's dead. Oh, we got to wait till August 4th. We'll tell August 6th or August 7th he died, keeping a brain dead man alive for as long as possible, while telling everyone out there, shh, stop talking about it. And while we are suffering as Americans, while we are put in a place where we are we're awestruck by just the devastation to our children and our children's children. I mean, we're in this place where we can't imagine how they could see this as logically the way that we could go as a country. While all that's happening, we do know what's really important now, because Now we're really close because they want to convince us nothing else to see here. We're really to effort to make daylight savings time permanent. That's going to be law now, because that's the most important thing to us right now. So let's change it. An effort to make daylight savings time permanent is one step closer to becoming law. The House overwhelmingly passed the Sunshine Protection Act, a bipartisan bill that would allow states to observe daylight savings time year-round. The measure heads to the Senate, where the future remains uncertain. President Trump has said he supported ending the seasonal clock change and expected to sign the bill if it reaches his desk. Because remember, he wasn't going to sign anything until we got the SAVE Act passed. I would need you guys to understand something, because I thought I had it all. We have a great guest today going to talk about what's really happening in our country related to controlling the price of oil and things that it's done to our country and our community. And of course, they've created this idea that we have an inflation issue, but the inflation issue is tied to energy prices. So everything that we do is kind of a circular firing squad. And if you want to give people back, take away the pressure, but they want people to suffer right now. They want people to suffer so that they can remove the suffering. It's punish, 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 punish. Relieve the pressure. Punish, 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 punish. Take from the people what you want to take. Pick winners and losers. Put people above the lawless line. Make sure the millstone on the chest of the American people is just heavy enough where it doesn't crush them yet, but it's meant to crush it. Mike Ariza is going to be joining us to talk a little bit about that. But before I get to that, I want to talk about the fact that Pocahontas is celebrating this new law. Celebrating the new law because the bipartisan House bill is now going into law. Let's go ahead and put that up if we can. Breaking. The clock struck midnight at our bipartisan housing bill is now law. Trump refused to sign it, but he couldn't stop it. The law is groundbreaking. It will build more housing, bring down costs, and for the first time, stop private equity from buying up homes. Only none of that stuff is true. And what they're talking about here, though, by the way, is what we really need to talk about today. President Trump said he refused to sign it. Okay, you refuse to sign it. If you refuse to sign it and you don't veto it, guess what happens to that law? It becomes law. You refuse to sign a bill and it becomes law. If you don't veto it, it becomes law. So we're in this place right now where we think we have it all under control. President Trump's not going to sign it. Everything's going to be good. Guess what? They can pass whatever they want. They can add more money to our budget. I mean, we are in a slave state to a degree that I'm not sure any of you can appreciate. We have a lawless, rotted judiciary where evil is able to run amok on the inside of our community. Evil people let out on the street. Others can use it for lawfare and vilify good people, hardworking people. Take from them what never was theirs to take. Strip them of their ability to have all of the hard work that they spent their entire lives building. No, the whole concept of it is to take everything from you. And evil thrives because good people do nothing. I'm beside myself today as I read about this, but yeah, a bill can become law without the president's signature under the U.S. Constitution, Article 1, Section 7. Article 1, Section 7 really simply says if the president takes no action on a bill, either signing or vetoing it for 10 days, excluding Sundays, while Congress remains in session, the bill automatically becomes law without a signature. They keep talking about bringing down costs. That's what Pocahontas said. You know what else brings down costs? Deporting 20 million people who shouldn't be here. Just another grift on the American people. Just another grift. And if you haven't heard the grift enough, you have Mike Lindell that's now out there advocating for giving amnesty to illegals. I mean, it writes itself. It writes itself. The wheat and the chaff inside of the movement for free and fair elections and having a place where you have the haves and the have-nots. No. Mike fancies himself a haves, not a have-not. I mean, he doesn't have to do things the right way, and he can just advocate for whatever he wants and then deny he ever said it, even though he said it. I don't get it. I don't get the retardation that we have. This what do you call it? A cool kids club in a high school. I mean, it reminds me of that. The mental maturity of a 0, courage of the kid you stuff in a locker room or locker, or even worse, even the peeping Tom that hangs out in the tree. That's what we have in government. Pretty crazy, actually. They advocate for, not having any sort of justice or accountability for someone like Jeffrey Epstein. I'm not even sure the guy's dead, frankly. Keep seeing pictures of the guys that look just like him that are running around everywhere. And both sides are a part of it. Judges, lawyers, politicians. And yeah, you have some politicians that bail out and have to resign. Swalwell, that he finally got the edge of that sword. You have criminal investigations against people. You have the FBI taking credit for violent crime being down, which in large part can be traced back to ICE, not to the FBI. ICE gets rid of big criminals. Criminals go underground. They don't want to be caught because they don't want to be deported. And the cycle continues. But our guest today is going to talk to us about energy prices and refining and what's really happening. And we've had him on before. So Mike Ariza is a U.S. Navy veteran, 20 years of experience in refining industry. He's worked at major California refineries, including Chevron, Richard, Flying J, and Valero. He served as the control board operator and senior refinery control board supervisor, as well as training both field and control room operators. Pretty big job. He brings boots on the ground perspective to what's happening for California's energy policies and just the massive amount of poverty that exists in our country. It's no secret that I want to give everybody opportunities, and solving problems are not that difficult. We've created more problems in our state and in our country than we've actually been able to fix. And part of the reason why is because they just keep taking from the people. Super easy when you're doing that. With that said, I'm gonna have him step in here for a minute, Mike, and we're gonna go through some stuff. But I want to play this, and then we'll go ahead and bring him in. This is President Trump talking about, telling gas retailers to drop prices. But then when that didn't happen, they just raised the price of a barrel of oil. It says, just inflate that. And by the way, kill prices on stocks by disconnecting AI platforms to make it sink so they can just get back in after the American people lose 40, 50% on an industry. And then the sky is falling. We'll jump back in and the prices will go right back up for us. We'll make another 30, 40 points. What's really obvious is the American people are literally in a free fall. And if they're not stealing the First Amendment, they're stealing the Second Amendment. If they're not stealing the Second Amendment, they're definitely violating the Fourth Amendment. If they're not stealing the Fourth Amendment, they're definitely violating the 14th Amendment. So everywhere we turn, we find ourselves on the sharp end of the stick. And so let's go ahead and play this. This is from President Trump just last week.
So it's ExxonMobil, it's Chevron, it's Shell, it's BP, it's a lot of them. The gasoline or the oil prices have come down so much, and we are not seeing anything at the pump by comparison to what it should be. We should be, in my opinion, at $2.25 right now at the pump, and we're higher than that. And we are doing a big investigation on it. They're not reducing the prices commensurate with what's happening. Look, we are sending out, think of it, 19 million barrels came out yesterday. That is a flood. That's like a gusher. That's an oil gusher. And they should be much lower, the gasoline prices, which really is what people see more than anything else, but for their car. But the gasoline prices should be much lower at the pump. And the oil companies are possibly gouging. I hope they're not, otherwise they're going to be in big trouble. They're going to be in big trouble. We're not going to play games.
Mr. President, you spoke to
All right, so let me just tell you the problem with what he's saying right now, and I think it's really obvious, is that, and let me just tell you where we're at right now. Currently, I mean, it did get back down to the 70s when he actually gave that. It got back to the 70s. It's currently sitting at $92 a barrel. It's up 50%, 60% since the beginning of the year. So since January, it's up 60% different. If you go all the way back into 2025, it is up 40% from last year. And you have a huge spike that happened somewhere in February when we kind of went to war. And there's really no reason why the prices, given the fact that we do have a new shipping lane in the Straits of Hormuz, for it to be at $92. But I mean, if you're told that you have to lower prices, then you just manipulate the market and make sure that oil prices are high. And right now they're high. And so the president said that, that most people are reflected in gas prices. I see that. I would disagree with him, but if you're at that place where you don't look at the receipt for gas prices, or you're not, rationing yourself and putting $10 in gas in the car as you go to make it, then it doesn't, you think that that's the only thing people look at is gas prices as you're driving by it. Energy prices, food prices, all the prices related to how people live their lives are pretty much where we're at. So I'm going to bring Mike in. And Mike, why don't you tell me where we're at and kind of how we're actually sabotaging our own pricing structure in the United States that's leading to these high prices. Welcome to the show.
Well, it's like you're saying, Joe, thank you. Prices going up, prices go down as far as crude. And then the midstream is the refinery, and crude goes up, refinery goes up, prices downstream go up. And it varies from region. West Coast, of course, is getting hit the worst because mainly due to the fact that we're refinery limited. The rest of the country, they're not having a production problem with crude oil. They're not having a production problem with their refineries. They're up and running and cranked up right now. Matter of fact, they're up about 97, 98% in the Gulf, trying to make up for people that are short of fuel like we are on the West Coast. And that's all the way from Washington to Arizona, Nevada, and Oregon. So right now, California and Nevada and Arizona, they were literally running out of fuel 5-6 weeks ago because the Gulf shut off the fuel to the refineries in Asia. They are sending California, which is importing 40% of its fuel due to refinery shutdowns. They're importing that much fuel. So when that shut off, when the oil from Hormuz going to those refineries cut back, they had to cut the refineries back. So the fuel that they were sending us, jet, diesel, gasoline, that basically got cut off. I think April 2nd, South Korea stopped sending us jet fuel. And it was around within a week or two, all those ships that were transiting the Pacific Ocean 30 to 45 days stopped. So we were on our way to a total supply shock. The thing that saved California and basically the West Coast was the fact that Trump, they did waive the Jones Act. The Jones Act requires an American-made and flag tanker or ship to go from American port to American port. That was waived. We were so low on jet fuel that within the last 2.5 months, more jet fuel has been shipped to California by foreign flag tankers than in the last 36 years combined. We were almost out of jet fuel, and gasoline and diesel were falling off the cliff as well. It's just, you're importing 40% of your fuel. You leave yourself vulnerable to world events or another refinery shutdown. That's online. There's many things that can basically cripple you. And the ironic part is this is all in the on the emissions. The emissions thing. Well, you're now receiving fuel made by some of what California standards would call gross polluting refineries, and then shipping them across the ocean on polluting tankers. So this emissions thing is just a total hypocrisy. So right now, California is still in a dangerous position. ConocoPhillips transferred some of their production up to Washington. And they started making the carbob gasoline in their Ferndale refinery. So they actually were robbing from the state of Washington and their supply. So the state of Washington, their prices are up, equivalent to ours. Partially, they're enacting California policies, and partially, Phillips 66 has created a artificial, a shortage, not a total shortage, but a strain on their supply. They also supply Oregon, so it just continues to affect right into Oregon, and then we supply Nevada, we supply Phoenix. So all those states are totally dependent upon us, so they're seeing the effects of California's policies.
Well, you have California policies, you have stuff coming in to kind of relieve some of the pressure of not having the proper supplies. President Trump is talking about how much oil is available. We have a gluttony, but we have a slowdown or a lack of refineries. I don't think anybody's probably briefing him on that effect, because if he would have forced the oil companies to stay open. We have abandoned a pipeline that we thought we'd reenact, which is the Keystone pipeline. That's still non-existent, still not in play. And we've got a bunch of other things happening in the country that frankly lead me to believe that we're no better off than we were during the Biden administration. And I want President Trump to be successful. And he came out and something happened in July of 2025. Something happened, something changed. And all of a sudden for the last year, it's been no progress. And the American people sitting on their hands going, man, what is going on? What is going on?
Well, this is the part that's got me frustrated. And I totally agree with you on a lot of the points you were making. I agree with you on all of them, but really agree with you on quite a few of them. What they did here, and this is, the libs caused this in California. It's Newsom and it's the Air Board has caused all these policy changes that compelled Valero to shut down and Wilmington to shut down. Back on September 5th, Andy Waltz, midstream, downstream CEO of Chevron, said, I think California is already in that crisis mode. Okay, a little over a month later, myself with USC Professor Miche and Assemblyman Stan Ellis combined 130 years of very intense experience in the industry. We published a brief in Washington, 10 pages long. It was specifically aimed towards the effect on the civilian population, but more leaning towards the threat to military force readiness in all 3 states, thereby affecting the entire country. The 10th page, we specifically called for the invocation of the Defense Production Act. And now, we didn't say, well, a month or two. No, you need to do this now because Valero already announced they were shutting down. Wilmington had already announced they were shutting down. We did the numbers. 2 of the refineries had already converted to renewable diesel, which means they went off crude oil production. So that was 265,000 barrels a day of crude oil production offline. What that means is you can get your renewable garbage diesel, but you're not going to get much jet fuel or gasoline anymore because you're not running crude oil. So right there, back in 2023, that took about 18% of our fuel, gasoline, and jet production offline. Then Wilmington went down. Then Valero went down. That took another roughly 20%. You could call it 40% even is what got us to importing that much. We wrote that knowing that was what was coming. Andy Waltz was even saying it. He said, when Valero and Wilmington go down, that's going to be another 20%. Reliability is going to really be in question because you'll be importing foreign refineries, and supplies are going to be, can be difficult to maintain. So you have CEOs talking about it. You have professionals like us talking about it, and nothing is done. I see some of the Republican assembly people, like on Fox News. And I tried to visit a couple of them in Sacramento. Stan Ellis actually knew what was going on. That's why we got together. But others just ignored my visit, ignored the brief that I had wrote. And, when they're on, things like on Fox, they're not saying a damn thing. They keep going back to the legislature here, which is totally liberal, totally Democrat. You're beating your head against the wall 10 times over. You're not going to change or sway these people because they got this green thing in their brain, and whatever Newsom says, they do like a bunch of pups. So, there's been opportunities and nothing said. Now, some of them are starting to speak up, but it's kind of like, well, where the hell were you? Because now that Valero has gone down, Joe, if they had invoked the Defense Production Act, Valero could have went down for a normal turnaround maintenance period for a month, went down, made its repairs, $200-300 million, came back up, back online, supplying the state. Now with Valero down, and I wrote about this on point of no return. You get past the point of no return with these refineries. It's like Andy Waltz also said, hey, if we shut down and we leave, we're not coming back. Once we shut down, we're gone. We don't come back. So Valero went down. Now you're looking at $1.2 billion to bring it back online. They didn't fix anything. So you got to do the inspections. You got to fix things. You find more problems. That's more trouble. But most important above and beyond all that is the qualified personnel. I'm looking at Valero now, and you almost have to go back to 1969 and hire 150 or 200 operators and basically train them like they did back the classes when the refinery was built and when it was starting up. You have to go back and get personnel because all the personnel are gone. They're in Texas, they're in Louisiana, they transferred, they retired. I mean, some of them will come back and work for the right price, but for the most part, 90+% of your qualified personnel to run this refinery are gone. And that's the biggest thorn in the side as far as trying to get it back up. But we need to get it back up. I don't think Wilmington's ever going to come back up. Valero, it's really questionable. It should never have went down. They should have invoked the Defense Production Act to prevent them from going down.
Well, Mike, we I think that it's all really good information you're giving. I don't think people understand the context behind it per se, and how oil becomes gas. It's there's a lot of things that come from gas. Plastics come from oil.
Mm-hmm.
Plastics comes from oil.
6,000 product.
Yeah, I mean it's not an easy process, and there's how it's broken down. Even the most rudimentary waste from oil becomes something.
Yes, it's recycled.
It's probably 100%. I don't think there's anything left from oil that doesn't end up being in production or use.
No, 99.9% of it is totally converted into the hydrocarbons, the jet fuel, the diesel, the gasoline that we need. What we use every day, the diesel to move our goods, operate the ports that come into this, bring our food and goods into this country, our gasoline, our jet fuel.
Paper, plastics, semiconductors, chipsets,
your
you
phone.
name it.
Yeah.
Your phone. You can't have any. You have nothing. You have no clothes, right? Oil is used to make clothes. I mean, it's used as a binding agent for different types of fabrics. I mean, the idea that you can live in a world where you don't have oil is ludicrous, right?
Yeah, no, turbines and solar panels, they make electricity. Everything that makes us move, that makes us mobile, that has taken us out of the, I don't know, I won't say Stone Age, but taken us out of the 1800s and into the modern days. Medicines, everything that we use nowadays is based on, almost all is based on petroleum in one way or another. And now we're in a serious danger above and beyond. So, like I said, we're importing 40% of our fuel, give or take. Now, the end of February, 1st of March, the 3 remaining corporations that have refineries, 6 of the 7, Chevron, Marathon, and PBF, they all dispatch letters to the state. You would think the state, it's like this is so planned because, you can't, this is so obvious. You can't miss this, okay, what's been going on. So now the cap and invest, I call it theft and invest. They propose these damn amendments that would cause Chevron to cough up like another $500 million. PBF, another $380 million. So all 3 companies dispatched a letter to the state that said, if you don't, to the air board and the governor, if you don't sit down and negotiate these amendments with us, this is not penciling out for us. So you're going to lose the entire refining industry. We're going to shut down, just like Valero did. I think Marathon even cites Valero's shutdown and the reason for it. They basically are stating that we're going to shut down and leave. I looked at just PBF. PBF's the smaller of the corporations. If they shut down, we'll be importing 60% of our gasoline at that point, which it can't be done. We're going to lose, it's like 70% of the damn jet fuel that supplies every airport in the state, including some of the military. Diesel fuel is the one that's the big one because that's the one that moves food. Cities have 4 or 5 days of food supply. You stop running food around on trucks, that is your warehouse, then you don't have food. And it doesn't matter how much money you have. You go into a store, you want some milk and there isn't any. You want some meat and there isn't any. You're not going to get any. And then your nice, beautiful home is going to look like a grocery store to the mob. So that's where we're at right now. And then the air board met. They made some concession. So far, the refineries have not dispatched a letter with intent to shut down. They have to give a year's notice. They have not dispatched any of those that I know of. But now an environmental group, California something, they're suing the air board for working out this, for basically compromising with the oil companies so that they wouldn't shut down. So it's this the big circle in California. These companies are just looking at this going, this isn't going to work. So that's the big danger California is in right now. We cannot import. We lose the two PBF refineries. We're in danger big time. We lose all six. It's going to be massive civil unrest in this state because you can't get that fuel in here. You cannot get all that fuel in here. There's no way. We don't have pipelines coming into the state.
Well, you don't have pipelines coming into the state, and currently, you look at the crime rate across the country. Most states are actually decreasing. California is one of the states that's increasing dramatically, and people are leaving. So the exodus is now 2 or 3% of the population are leaving. I mean, that's a big number, Mike.
Well, it is, and then the Jones Act tankers, the foreign flag tankers. One thing I failed to mention was, we had initially published that brief on the threat that this is to the military, that state policies are presenting to the U.S. military, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marines, everybody. Well, that fuel is one thing. Step back real quick. The refineries on the Gulf Coast, they're supposed to be cranked up to like 97% or something like that. They're not doing their normal spring shutdowns right now. They're staying online. That they run 95% all the time. So, 2% more or whatever. I knew that wasn't anywhere near enough to supply California for the amount of fuel that we lost between jet, diesel, and gasoline. So take a look at it, and we're pulling fuel from Pad 1 and Pad 3. Those are the defense districts, the fuel reserves of the Gulf Coast and the East Coast. So California, as we wrote in that brief, is a threat to the military. Well, now we're pulling record amounts of jet fuel, diesel, and gasoline from those defense districts on the East Coast and the Gulf Coast. That's where we're having to, they're having to supply California to keep California from running out. And you can't keep doing that forever. The refineries in the Gulf are at 97 or 98%, running that hard. Now we're pulling a lot of fuel from those defense districts. That tells you that they can't make up that difference. And we are slowly but surely drafting the military reserve fuel in the other big parts of our country.
Okay, sorry, Mike. What's the solution? I look at the gas prices that nationally versus California according to Grok. I want to show you this. And this just kind of goes through and restates what you're already saying. And it says California average tax is $5.55 a gallon. The national average is 406, and it shouldn't be 406. But President Trump made that speech, and all of a sudden gas prices went up by 30%, 40%. So that he's like, okay, well, it would be normally 320, it's 406. San Diego is similar or higher. Global factors like Iran conflict raise crude oil prices everywhere. I don't know how Iran, a fight with them, raises it, but we'll put that aside for a minute. California's largest premium comes from the state policy. Highest tax, gas taxes, 63 cents, excise and sales tax fees per gallon. Strict carb fuel rates and cap and trade, low carbon fuel standards, adding 30 to 60 cents per gallon, and refining limits and upcoming closures from regulation created a fuel island. So policy drives the gap versus other states. Mike, we can't vote ourselves out of it. Can't vote ourselves out of it because they're stealing elections, and the people that are there are not actually representing the interests of the people. You'd be hard pressed to talk to anyone. Like I can't talk to any. I am online just asking questions. Like I go to the worst places where people are like, they go to one of my profiles and be like, oh, that guy's he's right wing. He's a MAGA.
Mm-hmm.
And I ask them simple questions like, how are you feeling about policies in the state you're in, California? And they all say the same thing. They're all a bunch of crooks. I haven't seen one person that justifies anybody, but you can't do anything about them because it's a haves versus have-not club, and we're not in it. We're not in it.
Yeah, well, it's all those, the LCFS, the cap and invest, that should go away. They could at minimum cut the damn excise tax in half. The summer blend, that was designed for carbureted motors. We barely have any of those left on board. So right now, if they immediately said, okay, summer blend is suspended, we would get 6% supply back. in the pool, the gasoline pool. So there's just yeah, like you said, they refuse to do it. And then the danger is the actual supply. The prices are one thing, which is hurting. It's hurting a lot of people. Okay, especially those that have to commute, and that's a lot of California's story. All the different metropolitan areas, but the fact that we are running so low, so dangerously low. I go back to that chart. 2.5 months of jet fuel shipment here, last 36 years combined.
Let's put it up. Let's put the chart up. This is the PAD 5 recipients by tanker and barge, kerosene type, jet fuel, and hydrocarbons. And this shows you going all the way back to 1990, the number of barrels. And you have you have 180,000. Is that right? Yeah, 180,000 barrels. No.
Million
barrels.
Yeah.
Because by the thousand. No. Yeah. 1 point. Okay, look at what it has been for the last 40 years, right? And look at where it is today.
We were almost out.
It's not sustainable. It's not sustainable, Mike. We keep talking about the fact that we want to bring back manufacturing jobs and things like that. How do you bring back manufacturing jobs when we can't even manage our supplies of our energy supplies? How?
Hell, in Solano County, Joe, they can't even manage the supply of beer anymore. Budweiser shut down. Same county as Valero for the same reasons. The air board, the bullshit regulations that are put on them. Then Valero, they offered Valero $260 million to stay back in November, or $280 million. I forget. And Valero said, no, we're done with you. We're done with you. And now the other refineries, they're seeing this. They've been dealing with this. It's like a couple of CEOs were saying,
we keep ringing the bell, bro. We keep ringing the bell. We keep telling them over and over and over again, this is a problem. This is a problem. This is a problem. Nobody's doing anything about it.
Been a problem too. It's not just, this isn't something that crept up yesterday. This has been a problem. It was heading there. They're getting warnings and warnings and warnings. Andy Walsh is the most vocal of all the CEOs of all the companies. He said back in said end of March or April, it says, I really think California should declare a state of emergency at this point. I mean, he's calling it the way it is. He sees it for what it is. It's like he says, we don't want to shut down. We really don't want to go. But you're pushing us. You've been at war with our industry for the last 20 years. It's gotten a lot worse since Newsom took over. And this just doesn't pencil out what you did to Valero. And that's another thing, Joe, these corporations that own crude oil, Chevron, Shell, PBF, no crude oil. Same thing with Marathon. Same thing with Valero. So crude oil Brent goes up through the roof. If that damn price of gasoline doesn't go up, it doesn't pan out for them anywhere in the country, not just California. So that's another thing that people don't realize. They say, oh, it's an oil company. Yeah, but some of them don't own oil. Okay, when Exxon ran Benicia, when I worked there, Exxon owned crude oil, the offshore platforms, Alaska North Slope, all those different crude oils. Exxon made money off of it. And even if the refinery was losing a little bit of money, they made a ton of money on the upstream selling the oil to the refinery, and they just write off the loss on the refinery. In the case of PBF and Valero, Marathon, and companies like that, they don't have that flexibility. Chevron does. Shell, those companies that own crude oil, but these other companies that are trying to make a good product, do it safely, do it cleanly, they're really fighting for their survival right now. And this cap and invest that the Air Board just threw on them, these new amendments, which it's a total hoax. And a total taxation. It's a taxation. It's a tax, just a tax. It's all it is. And those two of the letters. Actually, all three of them, they state one thing is that the refineries where our fuel is being made now, being imported from, they don't have these fees. The ships don't have these fees. So here's our refineries, the cleanest running refineries in the world, getting hit with these $500 million, $300 million taxes on their cap and invest on top of everything else they have to pay. And then these gross polluting refineries that are bringing us our fuel, they don't have to pay a dime. So they're not even on the same footing.
Yeah, what amazes me is that we're even having this conversation about this and that nobody is ringing the bell. I mean, you're ringing the bell. We're on here ringing the bell. You're having a conversation about ringing the bell. and yet the people continue to suffer. They continue to go through this kabuki theater that frankly is yeah. You have this document. You recently authored an opinion piece titled "The Impending Collapse of California's Transportation Fuel Infrastructure." I want to put this up if we can. I can't read it because it's and I don't see it, guys, where I can click on it. It doesn't matter. I can't read it. So you got to make it so I can read it. Just give me the document if you would. Just put it in here so I can read it, if you could, and because I want to go through a couple of the documents on our side, or at least some of the conversation you've had. Tell us when you wrote this. I mean, obviously we've walked through the generalization of what we talked about just now, but did you come with a solution? Did you come out the other end with this is what needs to happen in order to stop this from happening?
The defense production, to guarantee this is not going to happen, that we're not going to see a collapse, is they need to invoke the Defense Production Act. They need to quit playing games. I don't know if I tend to think it's not the president. Talking with General Holt, like the chain of command filtering system, because California is at a crisis. It is a threat to the country. If you have the Port of Los Angeles shut down because there's no diesel to run it, that brings food into Colorado and into the Midwest. You'll have starvation, a starvation event. You'll have to relocate all the planes and the bases of the Midwest. I mean, the consequences right now are staggering. The fact that 3 corporations got together and wrote these 3 letters, that is unprecedented. That has never happened before. And they have not submitted rescinding letters. Those letters are still out on the table.
And listen, we're in a place of free fall where it's a lawless society. So why don't they just stop listening to the government and tell them to F off? I mean, the government's not doing what they're supposed to be doing. The government is literally betraying the people every day and stealing more from them. I mean, isn't it time for the American people to stop paying taxes and just be done? Just be done. It's a fraudulent government. The state governments are fraudulent. The federal government is nearly fraudulent. They're picking their own pockets and taking money from the American. It's like a cartel. I mean, let's just call it what it is. It's a cartel.
Yep. No, that's and it's like I was saying earlier, it's our guy, and it's on our side too. We know where these policies are coming from. Some of the policies the Air Board are imposing on the refineries and all the other industry like Budweiser, everybody's got boilers and stuff like that. Some of those came from Tsinghua University in Beijing. Katie Grimes of the Globe wrote a report on that. So here's the most polluting country in the world, our adversary, and they're using some of the policies they have from their university to put them on us. So we know where this is coming from. Like you said, hurt them, let up just a little bit, hurt them. And that's exactly what they're doing. But the problem is this hurt them in this situation. If these refineries go down, even if 2 more go down, we're in deep shit, period. If all 6 go down, it's total civil unrest, and the whole military of the United States will be compromised at that point. I mean, you're already compromising, big time compromising the West Coast. We can't afford to keep doing this. They should have invoked the Defense Production Act when the experts and the CEOs were saying, "Hey, California's got a big problem. Hey, you need to pay attention to this. Valero's going to shut down. Wilmington's going to shut down." And nothing was done. We can't afford to lose those other refineries. Basically, the Defense Production Act needs to be invoked. Then you take federal EPA, you tell the Air Board, the Energy Commission, you're done. You have no more purview in this state. Okay, cap and invest is done. LCFS, that's done. We're going to get the prices down and basically work with Chevron, Marathon, PBF, and there's one more Valero refinery down south, and say, okay, guys, what else do we need to do to keep you up and running? What other things do we need to help you with? The Defense Production Act gives the federal government the ability to do that. It's like, you guys did great and get the oil restored coming into, the 3 platforms, and they restarted Sable coming off Santa Barbara. That's great. But like my friend Ron Stein would say, and he's spot on, is oil is useless black tar if you don't have the refineries to run it. If you don't have the refineries to turn it into the 6,000 products that we use on a daily basis, and especially the fuels in California. If you don't have the refineries, then it's pretty much worthless.
Well, we pray that we can get to a place where we do. Mike, thanks for coming on, brother. I appreciate you very much. We keep ringing the bell. We keep ringing the bell month after month, we year after year, and now it's getting to the place where you have unprecedented things that are being done. You have people that are ringing the bell, and by the way, it's a bipartisan ringing of the bell. There are just as many Democrats that are saying the same thing. Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah. One thing I'd like to, people can, we have Erin Ryan from We the People Radio in California. She created a domain for us. Those 3 letters from those 3 companies, you click on there, there's a lot of good information on it, but those 3 letters, if people want to see them, are on the front page of that domain. It's called gascrisis.org, gascrisis.org, O-R-G. You just scroll down and you got PBF, Marathon, Chevron. You read that, and they put it in plain English.
Okay, so here's the letter, the point of no return that you put this up, and then you get to the bottom, you have the PBF energy warning letter to the California Air Resource Board, right?
Yes. Yeah, you scroll down and that's my colleagues, my friends who I've been working with, Stan and the professor. And then you go down I wrote the point of no return quite a while ago. Which where it was spot on, it's exactly where we're at.
Okay. So this is gascrisis.org, gascrisis.org. Go check it out. There's a bunch of resources on there. There's a comprehensive analysis that you have on California energy and fuel prices. And then you have the letters from the energy companies as well that are all signing off on it, this is crazy.
Well, and it's funny, they cite, the governor a little while after we put out that 10-page brief in Washington was saying we were full of shit, we're wrong, we're fear mongering. You look on these letters, 2 of those companies cite our report.
Yeah. Well, I mean, sooner or later we're going to get to the bottom, but it's just going to take us a little bit of time. Mike, again, thank you for joining us. I really appreciate you very much.
Thank you, Joe. God bless you.
All right, God bless you. I think I'm past the point where I want to get upset over what we're dealing with. I mean, I want to get upset over what we're dealing with for sure, but I think from my standpoint, we keep trying to put lipstick on a pig. We keep saying that somewhere along the line we're going to get to a different result and do the same thing. And I feel a little bit like the last 6 years have been Groundhog Day every day. Every day we wake up and we say that today's going to be better than it was tomorrow. And we count our losses and we count our wins. And so you count the costs against the wins and losses, much like the same. What did it cost you in order to get to that win or that loss? And I guess now we're at that place where the slow boil is turned into having to make some pretty significant decisions. Now, do I think President Trump is standing for our best interests? Yes. I want to say to President Trump this, though: blink twice if you're being held hostage. Because I do question some of the policy things that are being done by the administration, and the fact that Fauci's not in cuffs and Coomer's not in cuffs and Dominion hasn't been thrown out and Smartmatic is able to be accused of massive crimes, and we still can't get to the bottom of it. And we've had this go on for decades where they're just not afraid. They're like, yeah, we'll pay somebody, and all of our problems will go away. And I feel like we're right back in that same place right now. Only now we got the talons of a third country deep inside of us, taking from us which is not ours to take. So we're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, I'm going to address this over and over and over again. I'm going to continue to address this, but we're going to talk about Kyle Clark. And we're going to talk about the lies and how those lies affect people's reputation. I am getting ready to drop a pretty massive lawsuit, which is probably going to affect the outcome of a certain individual in this country. And I got to tell you, I'm pretty pissed off. And I was told by my lawyers, you can't say anything right now. I hate liars. Hate them. Hate them. And anyway, we can talk about that later. We're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Kyle Clark and just a lot of stuff. We're just going to talk about the lies that just keep stacking. We'll be right back.
Oh, hi. I almost didn't see you there. Welcome to DCF Buns, where you can find the freshest buns in town, if I do say so myself. Our master bakers teach class every week. So whether you're new to baking or trying to improve your culinary skills, we got you covered. And we can help you bake the cake of your dreams. We'll even clean your cake if you want. And if you don't want to bake anything yourself, we have loads of fresh buns available in a variety of shapes and sizes. Check us out at dcfbuns.com to learn more. DCF Buns, we keep the buns hot and the deals hotter. Buns.
In every thread, in every stitch, Honor-Bound USA weaves the fabric of the American spirit. It's not just apparel, it's a testament to God, family, and country. At Honor-Bound USA, we're a family of patriots who put our faith, family, and America first. When you visit our website, you'll find a line of products that embody our commitment to pray, stand, speak, and act. As the official site for the Untamed podcast, all of our products proclaim speaking the truth with courage. We also have the powerful documentary from Professor David Clements, Let My People Go. Identify yourself as one of the few who are willing to stand for what they believe in. Join the Honor-Bound USA family today. Wear it as a badge of honor, commitment to the values that shape us, and a pledge to the bright future we will build together. Because when you're honor-bound, you're not just wearing a brand, you're embodying a lifestyle.
Still no decision from Governor Jared Polis on whether to release Tina Peters from prison in Colorado and hand her over to her allies in the Trump administration, who have called for her to be released. Trump applied more pressure via social media today, and a key Peters ally demanding she be freed is calling for Governor Polis and other state leaders to be executed. Today, Joe Oltmann, a conservative activist and podcaster who is a close ally of Peters, called for Polis and Weiser to be executed.
I think all these people should be tried for treason and hung. I think Jared Polis should be hung. I think Jenna Griswold should be hung. I think Phil Weiser should be hung. I think they should hang by their neck until dead. Tried for treason and hung. Tried for treason and hung. You know, it's not taking things out of context. It is the fact that they are so connected to me. It's the fact that they want to silence a guy that frankly just speaks the truth, and they know it's the truth. And the only way that they can do that is by slandering and defaming me to the public. My biggest problem is not actually the left. My biggest problem is Republicans. Say they're Republicans. So they just pick sides. Team Evil just picks a side. You have people that are just diabolically just pieces of trash. And we end every show with a prayer. And I have to tell you, it reminds me of just when somebody knows that something is a lie and yet they continue to tell the lies knowing that they're lies. My brain just hurts. My brain hurts. I said tried for treason and hung. Tried for treason and hung. It should be tried for treason and hung, because the penalty for treason is death. It has nothing to do with them being political allies or political, adversaries. I don't have political adversaries. Politics don't even play a part in how I do things. And it doesn't play a part in most people's lives, right? You say, I don't want to talk politics. That's that we have pastors that try to do that too. I can't talk about politics from the pulpit. I can be, but you can't talk about right or wrong either. You can't talk about the difference between right and wrong. We can't talk about how our brothers and sisters, our American brothers and sisters, are being left out, treated like slaves, have their lives stolen from them, handed over to illegals, people that don't belong here. There's no difference between running out people that have basically built this country over the last 4 or 5 generations and what has been done to conquer people and destroy societies for thousands of years. Same thing's happening right now. And here's another one of Kyle lying and taking things out of context. Let's just put this up. This is Clark when me and Peter were on my show together.
Today, Oltmann and Peter's attorney talked about their shared vision for civilians to be rounded up, tried by military tribunals, and executed.
Why is the Insurrection Act not on the table? Why are we just not getting to the fact where we have military tribunals and 50,000 people that would get rounded up and we can just have a hanging party?
It's coming. It's coming with the evidence. It's coming with the proof.
We have had the proof for 4 years. And here's the real cut so you can see the context that gets left out when Antifa Clark decides that he's going to just make it up as he goes along.
And don't think that there are going to be no consequences for it, because I don't care if you're a judge, I don't care what you are. If you're a traitor to this country, you don't get excused because you have a black robe on or because you're a secretary of a state someplace. You better wake up, because as Barack Obama or Barry Obama said, elections have their consequences. And right now, there's been a change, and that change is going to continue. So smarten up, at least stop the nonsense. I got a judge in Michigan in Stephanie Lambert's case where they're trying to Tina Peters her, okay, because she had experts inspect the tabulators, and what did the judge decide? She's charged with unduly possessing election equipment, and even though there's nothing in the law that says this, he says not having the permission of the Secretary of State to have the election equipment is to unduly possess it. He's making up the law.
That's not a law. I mean,
it's not a law.
But that's all they've been doing, Peter, and that's why I get to the place, and I said it yesterday. Why is the Insurrection Act not on the table? Why are we just not getting to the fact where we have military tribunals and 50,000 people that would get rounded up and we can just have a hanging party?
It's coming. It's coming with the evidence. It's coming with the proof.
We have had the proof for 4 years. We've had the proof for 4 years. We've had the proof. Nothing happens. I want to play this. This is the head of the Smithsonian being questioned about being polite. The lies just don't stop, and they come from everywhere. And we have to tolerate it because we have to debate the ridiculous. And there are people that walk around and it's a business for them. It creates clicks. And most people like me that just want life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, that's most of society, find everything distasteful now. Everything. Everything is a fight. Let's go and play it.
Excuse me, sir?
Is it important to be polite?
Yes, sir.
It's also interesting because the same mass action toolkit that your organization has been promoting references politeness as a defining characteristic of white supremacy culture. Ma'am, are you a white supremacist?
No, sir.
You're not. Can you help me square why your organization says that being polite is part of being a white supremacist?
I'm not exactly familiar with that passage of the Mass Action Toolkit, which is not
I can show you the
one that we
passage. It's right
developed.
here.
And here's a list, by the way. Here's the list of the things that are a part of white culture that are about whiteness. And, if you look at this, it says individualism, self-reliance, nuclear family structures, rational linear thinking, working before you play, plan for the future, protect property, avoid conflicts, manage time, be polite. As if it's a bad thing. As if any of those things are bad things. White dominant culture, or whiteness, refers to the way white people and their traditions, attitudes, and ways of life have been normalized over time and not considered standard practice in the United States. And since white people still hold most of, you can put this up there, right? This is the first picture. Since most white people still hold most of the institutional power in America, we have internalized some aspects of white culture, including people of color. Internalized some aspects of white culture. So rugged individualism. The individual is a primary unit. Self-reliance, independence, autonomy, high value. Rewarding with you get what you deserve. Family structure. The nuclear family, father, mother, 2.3 children is the ideal social unit. Husband, the breadwinner and head of household. Wife is a homemaker and subordinate to the husband. Children should have their own rooms, be independent. Emphasize on scientific method. Objective, rational, clear thinking. Cause and effect relationship. Quantitative emphasis. It goes in, if you go to the next page, that talks about competition. Be number one, win at all costs. The winner-loser dichotomy. It goes through some of the rules and what things they say that this is a bad thing and that it's a white culture. No. It's actually every culture wants to be number one. They want to be at the top. That's why people pursue money and power. But they have to make it bad. And if that's not bad enough, I just want you to know that if you're looking for the signs, if you're looking for signs of right-wing extremism, I have them for you. And I think it's important that we put these up. And then, there we go. We'll put these up for you. So here are the signs for recognizing a far-right extremist. Number one, you got to have full-time employment. Number two, you got to be literate. 3, you have to love your family and your country. 4, you got to be driven by this thing called common sense. And 5, you have to obey the law. So thought it was interesting that these are the things that are far right extremists. Now, I do want to correct the record with Kyle Clark for a minute, if I can. Kyle Clark says that I am a right-wing, I am a MAGA podcaster, and I am a advocate or activist. So let me correct the record. There you go. That's the recognize the warning signs of being a far right extremist. So if you identify as a far right extremist, then I think you're probably on the right track. Not necessarily a bad thing. That comes from Badger Bites UK, which is one of the people that put it underneath the deal. So shout out to Badger Bite for putting that up. It's totally true. But I want to correct something. I've been a businessman for 20 years. I was a negotiator in the Middle East and Africa for 6.5 years. I've done some of the coolest things you probably could ever do in 12 lifetimes. And, I've been ridiculously successful and blessed beyond measure. Podcasting is something I do a couple hours of the day. The rest of the hours of the day are not spent podcasting. It's building and giving people opportunity to make a living. If I'm not doing that, I'm a father, I'm a husband, and I got dogs. So I'm not an activist. I'm an American. See, Kyle can't get that right either. And so I want to take a minute, though. I'm going to take a right-hand turn here really quick because I want to bring on my friend Peter Boyles. First of all, I want to say this. This is, before we go any further, Peter Boyles and I got sideways over elections, and this is over elections nearly 6 years ago. We didn't know each other, but there was some waves and tension and that got created, and Peter has become my friend. And it all was because I picked up the phone and I called the radio station while him and a few other people were on. And I was like, let's talk it out. And we ended up getting on the show and then going out to dinner. And then now we're doing some pretty special things right now. But I want to take a minute, if I can, and say this to my friend, Peter, and we can go ahead and bring him on. Peter just got inducted into the Radio Legend Hall of Fame. And Peter, congratulations on being, one, an amazing man, and 2, for an honor so great. I mean, this is a big, big honor.
Well, I'm first, not all that happened between us was generated by you and I. There were some other forces at work that I'm only now beginning to understand. And I tell people this is not a bad man. This is a good man. We have different views about one single issue, but we have more in common than we do in difference. I just received a phone call, and I had stood up for my friend, his life was taken because of this business, and Alan Berg will go into the Hall of Fame with me in October of this year, and I will go in first, and then I get to bring him in. And the first person other than my family, I called Joe, and I screwed up because I forgot you're on the air. I did.
I said, hey, why do you always do this while I'm on the air?
I just, but
tell that, Peter. We need to tell that story. Tell that story because this is a rite of passage that not many people across the world get. And you said, if Alan Berg doesn't come in, I can't
go. I'm struggling. I wasn't going to see him stand out on the street corner and me go in and get an acclimate that he clearly deserved. His life was taken. It was a radio murder. I know they've made movies and books and things like that, but they seem to want to put it in another place. It was about what happened on the radio, and there is hardly anyone left that remembers. And it was 42 years ago this summer, and I remembered. And I have to thank and I'll get a chance to thank the people that. But I said I can't go with him not going, and I just got the phone call from a dear friend who I think stood up for me and said, "You're in, but better yet, Alan's in. Alan's going in as a legend, and I'm going in as just some dope that went in the Hall of Fame." But I get to I go in first, is what I was just told on the phone, and then I get to speak for him. And thanks, boss. Thanks a lot.
So I want to say congratulations to you, but I want to bring something else up that I think is super important. Alan Berg, just so you know, he was known as being, and this is the power. This is the power of. He was a Jewish American. He was a brilliant businessman. He had the sharpest tongue you'd ever
Actually,
find.
He probably wasn't that brilliant of a businessman. He got disbarred as a lawyer. So
he got disbarred, but how he got disbarred as a lawyer is another story all in itself, right? So when you told me about Alan Berg, I went.
He was. God, I'm sorry.
No, I don't care what anybody says. The guy was brilliant.
Oh,
because
there's been 3 guys that I knew, and I speak about them, that came in and sat down and got it. Alan, Dave Logan, and Mike Rosen. I was a writer and a traffic reporter, and I read the news, and I played records, and I did dog track reports, and so I fundamentally made my bones. He had been disbarred in Chicago for it's not for right now to tell the story, but he had lost his law license and came here and got sober, and he was a clothes horse, and he opened up a boot broker and a shirt broker down on Lambert Street, where he made custom-made shirts and custom-made shoes and boots. And one of his customers was a guy named Lawrence Gross. And Lawrence was a radio talk show host. Well, Lawrence got one load of him and said, "This guy'd be great on air." I say the same thing, obviously, about you, that you'd be, and so he brought Berg in to fill in for him. And it was the day they announced that Elvis Presley had died, and Berg went on there and said Elvis couldn't sing. And he blew the trunk lines out of the radio station, and he was the greatest pro wrestler I ever saw do talk radio. And he just had this ability, and he got the business. He got it like that. Mike Rosen got it like that, and Dave Logan got it just like that. He sat down and did it.
Yeah.
The rest of us, we've had to learn. But those three, they came in and hit the home run. But he, his murder and what happened with it and everything, it changed. You and I are talking about these new projects that we're about to launch, but
Yeah.
it really gets back to when he was killed 22 years ago in June. Everything hinges on that point, and people don't. I see things in terms of epochs and moments in time, and that certainly was. And then we've turned into what you and I have decided we call corporate talk, and it's been diminished immensely. And perhaps you never say perhaps. You always say when. So when we do what we're going to do, it's going to change a lot of things. But I get the look at me. I get to speak for him, and that's
I want to talk about something that I think everyone needs to hear, because I get to say that Alan Berg is with Jesus. You and I have talked about faith and all these things that have happened in your life and that happened to bring us together.
Wow.
And the things that get said. And before you came on, I was talking about Kyle Clark getting it wrong and defaming me. And you only defame people that you're afraid of. And he was an atheistic guy like that. But
very much.
I went back and listened to some of his stuff. I've spent a little time listening to it. I wanted to get to know him because of how well you spoke of him. And here's a guy in the 80s was very liberal. You could call him a Kennedy Democrat. I mean, he was very much so a Kennedy. Yeah.
What people don't know, something that had happened, and the American, there's an American Israeli embassies in Washington, D.C., but they have an annex in Los Angeles. And there was a guy that would come to Denver every couple of months, and he represented the government of Israel. And I was doing the morning show on KOA, and he would always come in and stop by, and we became very good friends. And then he offered me a trip to go to the state of Israel, all expenses paid, and to function in Israel. And Berg came to me, and he wanted the trip, and I relinquished it and gave it to him. And he went to Israel, and when he came back, he was changed. And in a short amount of time after that, his life was taken. But the thing that so many things I feel good about is that that he got the trip, and he got
the trip, and when he came back, he wasn't. I
wasn't
watched one of the shows. He wasn't the same, and
he wasn't the same.
He stopped talking about the fact that there was this godless world.
It's funny because
it's crazy.
We had a couple of long conversations. He had thanked me. He said, you gave me the trip, and at the time I didn't think I did anything for anybody, and I figured there'd be another trip coming, and I'd take that. And when he got back, and there was something that had definitely, and in fact, another person to attribute was Rabbi Foster, because we held this funeral service, perhaps is a better way to say, celebration of his life at Temple Emmanuel, and there were a number of people that did not want that to happen at Temple Emmanuel. One's because Berg would draw to the lightning, and two, because they remembered him as an atheist. And Rabbi Foster stood up and said, "No, we're going to do this," and we did. And we spoke that Sunday morning, and it was Rabbi Foster and Barry Fay and myself and Alan's brother-in-law, Marty Sachs, had come in from Chicago. and there were 4 of us that spoke at the temple that day. And I'm not sure what change had happened to him. Something had definitely happened to him, and I think it's those of us who have been to Jerusalem. I don't care what you believe or who you believe or don't believe. There's an effect that you get from being not necessarily in the state of Israel, but certainly in the city of Jerusalem. I think that anybody that's had the experience knows that there's something going on. So he had come back, and he was only back a short amount of time, and his life was taken. So one of those we'll never know. But he
knew, though. I mean, there's a certain amount that he actually knew something was going to happen. He was,
yeah, I think so, and I think that Morley Safer, 60 Minutes had come into town, and they were going to do a feature, big feature on me, and then he found out about it, and he wasn't going to let that happen and not be part of it. So he came down and he introduced himself to Morley Safer, and he turned on the bird gas, and then I'm like, see you later, and we're focusing on Alan. And I was like a minute 30 in the piece, and the rest of it was him. And that's when he had said, someday I may say something that will get me killed. And that time came, but it came in a very, very bizarre way. But it was a radio story. It was a radio murder. It wasn't. It had to do with totally with the radio. And the best book to read is Kevin Flynn and Gary Gerhardt wrote a book entitled "The Order: The Silent Brothers." It's principally about them, but it's been made into a movie called The Order. And it's
hold on. It was also, it wasn't just that. It was they turned it into a stage play that played in 2024 called The Order, that gave for almost, it was sold out in Denver, right? Yeah. At the LA Calkins Opera Hall.
Well, I went and saw one version of it. And
did you see it?
Nah, I saw the movie because Kevin wrote it. It's Kevin's book. And he and his wife took me to see the film. So I went and saw the film, but it wasn't about how or why. It was Bob Matthews and Richard Scutari and David Lane and the killers. It was more about them than it was about killing Alan. But the real crime was killing Alan, and why and how they decided to do it is a radio story. And
yeah.
And believe me, Kevin did a great job with the book. So, so here we are, old men, and.
Well, I'll tell you this: there's no better honor than the decades of experiencing, decades of your voice being on the radio, and the fact that we get to do this crazy thing together, which is
hide and watch.
Which is going to be, it's going to be ridiculous. We're going to do some crazy stuff. The one thing that I can say, Peter, is that we have some unlikely alliances that have been created, unlikely friendships have been created over the last 6 months, and they keep growing. I
was telling somebody we fluked. I can't tell you the story that Joe's overlooking is I don't even know how you came up on a radio show, and then you called the show and some harsh words were said, and I said what I said, and we kind of went nose to nose, and then we had both had our families threatened.
Yeah.
And you said something, you apologized for saying something which won my heart, and then you said about you were sorry about something that happened to one of my family members, and then back to you. And then that night, I get this email at 1:00 in the morning, or text message that was from, can we say who sent it, or would that's up to you? It's up to your call. It was Randy
Sure.
Corcoran, and who Randy and I were on the outs. And now he and his wife Jessica, they're some of our dearest friends. And so I sent him a text, and I said, and he said, something's new or something. I said, yeah, I had a brain bleed and bought a trike, you know, like that. And he sends me back this message. And then I had invited you to come in, I think. And I went, and then Randy and I went and rode motorcycles together. And then you came in, and then we spent a couple of hours on the air, and I had to tell him you were a gubernatorial hopeful. you had the black mark on your forehead. And so, yeah. And you became, and then we went and ate lunch for 3 hours. And then I came into this studio with you, and the rest
it was crazy. It was a crazy experience, because I'm really good for ratings. I mean, they say a lot of things, but I'm really good for ratings.
We did a big promo on it. I said, you know, who's coming on the air,
and so it was really good. But Peter, I just want to say congratulations. Obviously, is in order, and I really personally think that it's going to be spectacular. That you're going to be. I want to go.
We'll consider it done.
All right,
but not so much that it's look at me, that it's. I mean, I wish my dad were here.
He is here
because of because what I put him through, you know. And here we are many years later, but and my mom, but the fact that that Berg's going to be here, and that's so important to me, because, you know, we and I'll wrap it up with this. We have, the city of Denver has never honored this man, and I'm not so sure I believe that there are hate crimes, but if there is such a thing, his murder was one. But we have, and believe me, I take nothing from this. We have Dick Connor Boulevard, we have Daddy Bruce, we have Dr. King, we have Omar Jah. We have nothing for Burke. There's nothing at all. Not one marker, not a plaque, not anything. And I've often thought,
look, he was spectacular. He was spectacular. I've seen his. You know, there's an archive, by the way. You can actually go listen to some of his stuff. There's an archive that they built to him, which is pretty cool.
You can never. I mean, I can't tell anybody, like, and we will return to those days, but what he was able to do, and we had monster numbers, and he got time for one quick story that I was told for Berg, and we'll be cutting into time. Right, well, we were out to dinner, and we always had dinner together Friday nights. We would invite lots of people, but we would sit next to each other and talk about the business. And a guy named Joel Barron had a place called the Tally Ho. It was out on Wadsworth. It was a prime joint. It was a great place, good people. So Berg and I, and he loved a woman named Linda McVeigh, and she was there, and I don't know who I was with, and I was still drinking, and Berg, and out of the bar, out of the bar comes this woman. She's coming, and I see her coming. I think, whoo, and he wasn't a scrapper, and I'm thinking, okay, this is not going to go good. And right behind her is I take it as her husband, who could probably eat apples off of your head. You're a big guy. And I'm thinking, well, maybe this is it. So I was still drinking. We had a wine bottle and a bucket, and I put my hand on the neck, and I'm thinking, it's going to go bad. And a woman comes up on us, and I know she's after him. And he starts up, and her husband's right in behind him. And he gives it that, sir, and he's Serbic. And the guy looks at him, and he goes, what do you do for a living? And the guy looks at Berg. He goes, he'll lay bricks or something, I forget. And he said, good. Now, you come to my house on Saturday, you lay bricks, and I'll talk to your wife. And the guy looks at his old lady. He grabs her by the wrist and pulls her away. I'm floored. I said, like people that can whistle down dogs, you know, you've seen that stuff. And I look at him, I said, how did you do that? Never mind. And I mean, I watched him do it. And then there's other times that obviously what happened. But thank you for taking our time with this, and I'll see you tomorrow morning at 9, boss. Thanks a lot.
All right.
But
God
we
bless
got
you,
this.
brother.
We got this. Thank you,
It's
sir.
gonna be really amazing. And frankly, I'm glad to have you. I'm glad to have you on this journey. We're gonna do some crazy stuff. But
what did that man say? Watch what happens next.
watch what happened. What happened was, and we made it happen.
I'm
All right,
talking
God bless you,
about it.
brother.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
Peter Boyles. He's an amazing man, and over 4 decades he's been on the radio. He's a voice you could hardly. I mean, if you're in Colorado or even around Colorado, it's hard to not know who Peter Boyles is. And there's some crazy stuff we're gonna do that I think will surprise you guys. That we're gonna start over the next month. I think you'll be really excited about it. But I want to close with this. If I go back and I look at Alan Berg, and Alan Berg is, I mean, if I was looking at it today, you'd say he's atheistic. He's way, way far left. And they would say, oh, Joe, and you can't like him because he's Jewish. The opposite would be true. Right? First of all, my entire family is like Muttville. I don't make decisions on people based upon their race, creed, religion. I don't make decisions that way. I make decisions based on whether or not they're good people. And when I first heard the story about Alan Berg, I went and I had to go do research on him because, he was a firebrand. He was a firebrand. And yeah, he struggled with alcoholism. He struggled with things. And he said on the air once that I've never seen a martini I didn't like. And he struggled with seizures and some medical issues, but he was loved by people even when they hated him, including his ex-wife, who was with him just hours before he was gunned down. He was gunned down. And this is where I started looking at going, man, we've had a problem with radical people, right, left, for a long time. In the 80s, they had a thing called the Order, and this order was run by a guy named David Lane, not associated with David Lane that now is a criminal attorney in Denver. But him and these people that were white supremacists, true white supremacists, David Lane got into an argument with Alan on air. And it turned out that he was getting out of the car and they had a Mac 10. They had a full auto Mac 10, and they shot Alan Berg 36 times. And when they were asked about this shooting, the only reason he stopped is because the gun jammed, not because he was, obviously 36 holes in exit and entrance wounds is a lot, but he was just getting out of his car, just had dinner, grabbing some stuff, and went home. And I remember that feeling personally when people came to my house with a gun. I remember sitting up on the top and watching the silhouette come across the deal, and there's a guy carrying a gun. And I'll never forget the feeling that these are people that want to do harm to you. I live my life now in a way that I have to look over every corner. I go into restaurants. I always make sure that I have my back to the wall. I prepare myself every day. And Alan lost his life because of his speech, what he said. And the same thing could be said for Charlie Kirk, and you could talk about other people. But Alan Berg was not this radical left guy. He was an eccentric egomaniac. He was awesome, though, to listen to. And these are just the things I've been able to listen to because I didn't know him. It was 1984, man. I was in elementary school. But I learned something from listening to his voice, and that is that he had an immense amount of reason. So even though he was over the top and he would talk about people and he had a very brash nature, the things that I read and talked to, I don't disagree with him. So why can't we get back there? Why can't we get back there? And this is the problem when we start creating ideas that we have to stick with Republicans or Democrats. That's why I say we're going to vote for Greg Lopez, is because he's an independent. He's in the middle. We get left or right, bring them all together. I don't really care, but I'm not voting for someone that's diabolical, that lies as easy as it is for him to breathe. And I'm certainly not voting for the weasel wiser. as the governor for Colorado. So a lot of things to kind of go over and think about. But our unlikely alliances are going to be people that are just everyday Joes, left, right, center, that finally realize that we're all slaves to a system that doesn't allow for us to have debate or to pick winners and losers or to reset society or hold people accountable, because there are people that are creating a system that makes it so accountability is nearly impossible. So I pray we do get to a place where we can reconcile that. So yeah, I'm going to end it there, I think. All right. So I was told that we are on Amazon now. So we're on Amazon. We are on Roku. We are on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and more. We are syndicated across a large number of radio stations, and I am negotiating to get across even more. We have an amazing thing that's getting ready to come out. It's going to be epic. It's going to allow for us to build a network that is spectacular. The reality of it is that we are kind of in a pretty crazy place right now. But I think we're going to be able to come out the other side. I do talk about the fact that I'm not okay with another country not or having access to the sovereignty of our nation, and well, they basically piss on us. But we'll see how it ends. We'll see how it gets out the other side. But yeah, let's pray. Father God, thank you for the opportunity to be here today. Thank you for Peter Boyles. Thank you for his commitment for the last 40 years in serving people, just having conversations. The number of conversations and the things that he has broken, and as far as stories and the hits that he's taken as a result of that has been significant. And so, Father, I thank you for his thirst for knowledge and his thirst and desire to serve others and to become an advocate for many people, such as John Benet Ramsey. I mean, he really just hung on to that story, and had it not been for him, they wouldn't have gotten to some of the conclusions and some of the information related to how she was killed so long ago. Father, we ask that you help President Trump and just give him knowledge and foresight and wisdom to do the right thing by the American people. I ask for the same thing on our leaders on both sides of the aisle. And as we sit here and we discuss kind of where we're at as a country, and we're disenfranchised and we're disappointed, but we have not lost any faith in you, Father. So we are grateful for you standing next to us and giving us the tools to be able to fight. And whatever the future holds, Father, I just ask that you give us the opportunity to serve well. And I say these things humbly in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. All right. We will be here tomorrow. And make sure that you hit the share button if you would. Give us a thumbs up on the way out. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the last 6 years. As good or bad or indifferent as it has been worth it. So I leave that with you. All right. God bless you.
Rise up untamed in the heart of the fire where the wild ones roam. Joe Oltmann's calling, bringing truth back home. From conservative daily to this untamed fire, we shatter the silence, lifting spirits higher. No chains can hold us, no lies can prevail. Authentic and fearless on this rugged trail. Patriots gather under stars and stripes. Untamed nation, igniting the night. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Catch the fire, wear the crown. Untamed nation, it's our battle song, motivating hearts where the brave belong. Yeah, untamed and wild, forever strong. Play it again all night long. Break the mold, chase the time to heal. Joe's voice leads the untamed crew. Truth matters through and through. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Catch the fire, wear the crown. Untamed nation, it's our battle song, motivating hearts where the brave